Comparison steals your confidence and self-worth in ways that are quiet but devastating.
It begins subtly, almost unnoticed.
You see someone achieving more than you, earning recognition or moving faster in life, and suddenly your mind starts questioning everything about yourself. You wonder if you are enough, if you are doing the right things, if your efforts will ever matter. And in that questioning, your confidence begins to erode. Most of us do not realize that comparison is a trap. It disguises itself as motivation, as inspiration, as ambition.
You tell yourself, I just want to do better, or I just want to catch up.
But in truth, comparison is never about improvement. It is about measuring your value against someone else's achievements. And that is a measurement you will always lose because your journey, your timeline, your circumstances, they are not theirs and theirs are not yours. Confidence cannot thrive when it is constantly undermined by someone else's success. Every time you compare, you are feeding doubt. You are giving energy to insecurity.
You are allowing the world to define your worth instead of standing firmly in your own truth.
You forget that your value is inherent, not conditional. You forget that your efforts, no matter how small they seem, have meaning because they are yours.
Social comparison also distorts reality.
You see the highlight reel of others' lives and assume it is the full story. You do not see the struggles, the late nights, the failures, the sacrifices behind their achievements. Yet your mind takes their success as a standard and your perceived shortcomings as evidence of failure. This distortion slowly chips away at self-esteem. You begin to believe that if you are not ahead in the same way, you are behind.
You begin to feel that your natural pace is inadequate.
The act of comparing also distracts you from your own growth. When your energy is spent looking outward, you are not focusing inward. You are not nurturing your talents, building your resilience, or pursuing your purpose.
You are measuring, doubting, and worrying,
all while life passes by. Confidence comes from mastery, from action, from self-belief. And that cannot grow when your mind is elsewhere entangled in someone else's path. Comparison triggers fear. Fear that you are falling behind. Fear that you will social media and the illusion of success never be enough. Fear that your dreams are too small or too late. And fear is a powerful enemy of self-worth. It convinces you to shrink, to hide, to avoid risks. It convinces you that it is safer to blend in than to stand out. And in that shrinking, the very potential you were born with begins to wither. Your self-worth becomes conditional when comparison dominates your thinking. You begin to tie your value to metrics that are not yours to control. Salary, followers, accolades, grades, recognition, and because life is not a fair competition, you constantly feel inadequate.
Self-worth is not
measured by external standards. It is nurtured from within. But comparison constantly shifts the goalposts, leaving you feeling small no matter what you achieve. Over time, comparison breeds resentment, envy, and self-sabotage. You may start avoiding others' success or secretly wishing for their failure because their achievements make you uncomfortable.
Or you may push yourself into unhealthy competition, overworking, overexerting, trying to prove your worth to the world.
Both paths destroy confidence because they are rooted in fear rather than self-belief. True confidence comes from acceptance. Acceptance of who you are, where you are, and what you are capable of in your own timeline. It comes from recognizing your strengths, acknowledging your efforts, and celebrating your progress. It comes from understanding that your journey cannot be replicated and that comparison is a thief that steals your ability to see your own light. To reclaim your self-worth, you must become conscious of the moments you compare yourself to others. You must question the thoughts that arise when envy or doubt enters your mind.
You must redirect that energy toward your growth, your passions, your goals.
Confidence is built in those moments when you choose yourself over the world's standards. When you stop measuring yourself against others, you begin to notice your achievements for what they truly are.
You see your growth, however small it may seem.
You celebrate your efforts, your persistence, your courage. You stop apologizing for your pace and start honoring your process. Self-worth is restored when you recognize that comparison has no place in defining your value. Comparison not only undermines confidence, it also limits potential. Every moment spent envying someone else is a moment you are not investing in your own skills, creativity, or purpose. When you reclaim your focus and stop looking outward for validation, you create space for growth. You allow yourself to take risks, to learn from mistakes, to step boldly into challenges. Confidence grows in action, in persistence, in faith in yourself, not in measurements against others. Every great accomplishment begins with self-belief. Every powerful moment begins with trusting your own abilities. Comparison steals that beginning by convincing you that you are not enough. But the truth is you are always enough.
Your path is unique.
Your potential is limitless. Your confidence is waiting to be reclaimed the moment you stop measuring yourself against someone else. Social media amplifies the pressure to measure up in ways that can be how comparison destroys self-confidence, overwhelming, subtle, and constant. Every scroll, every post, every highlight reel reminds us of what others have achieved, where they are in life, and how perfect their world appears. And when we consume these moments without perspective, it can feel like the world is moving faster than we are,
That everyone else is succeeding while we are still trying.
to find our place. This comparison is not accidental.
It is engineered to grab attention and keep engagement high.
And our minds are easily caught in the cycle of judgment and self-doubt. We rarely see the behind the scenes of anyone else's life. We see the awards, the promotions, the vacations, the perfectly framed photos, the smiling families, the seemingly effortless successes. But what we do not see are the struggles, the failures, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the mistakes, and the moments of doubt that make those achievements real. When we compare ourselves to curated highlights instead of lived realities, we measure our authenticity against illusions. This is a silent thief of confidence and self-worth because our internal benchmark is always unrealistic. Viewed social media creates constant pressure to perform, to appear successful, and to be accepted even when we are quietly content with our own progress. The notifications, likes, and comments can trigger a sense of inadequacy. We begin to equate engagement with validation and visibility with value, and slowly the internal belief that we are enough on our own gets eroded. This pressure is especially strong because it is subtle. It does not scream. It whispers, "You are behind. You are not doing enough. You are missing out." And over time, those whispers shape the way we see ourselves. The comparison fueled by social media also impacts mental health. Anxiety rises when we feel we are not keeping up with our peers. Depression can set in when we internalize the idea that someone else's achievements define our worth. Self-esteem diminishes as we fixate on what we lack instead of what we have. Social media does not merely show us the world. It conditions us to measure our lives against everyone else's carefully crafted narrative. Without awareness, this can create a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction, leaving little room for gratitude or self-appreciation. We must recognize that social media is a tool, not a standard.
It is a highlight reel, not a blueprint.
Understanding this distinction is crucial to protecting our confidence and self-worth. When we pause to reflect, we realize that those posts are moments, not life definitions. No single post or story can encapsulate the entirety of someone else's journey.
And yet, we often treat it as the ultimate benchmark for our own lives.
Awareness of this truth is the first step toward breaking free from the constant pull of comparison. Another effect of social media-driven comparison is distraction from personal growth. Time spent scrolling, measuring, and judging is time taken away from self-development, from practicing skills, from reflecting on goals, from nurturing relationships, or from pursuing passions. When our attention is absorbed by other people's lives, our own potential is neglected. Social media amplifies this distraction, the psychology behind self-doubt, by rewarding engagement with content that triggers envy or self-doubt. The algorithm is designed to keep you comparing because engagement rises when emotion is stirred. And in this engagement, confidence wanes and focus shifts away from your personal journey. Social media also sets impossible standards because it often exaggerates success. A vacation may seem luxurious, but behind it may be months of planning, stress, and sacrifice. A career milestone may seem effortless, but it may represent years of struggle and rejection. Yet, when we compare ourselves to these snapshots, we forget our context. We forget our unique path, the challenges we have overcome, and the progress we have made. This constant external comparison creates a false timeline, making our own accomplishments feel insignificant, even when they are meaningful and are executed. The pressure from social media can also distort self-perception. We start to value external approval over internal validation. We chase likes instead of growth, attention instead of mastery, recognition instead of authenticity. Confidence becomes fragile because it is tied to fluctuating external metrics rather than a stable understanding of our own abilities and worth. Our identity begins to mirror the curated lives we see online, rather than being grounded in our true selves. Breaking free from this pressure requires intentionality. It requires setting boundaries, limiting consumption, and creating periods of digital silence. It requires learning to measure success on your own terms, focusing on personal milestones, and appreciating your journey. Mental strength grows when you resist the urge to compare. When you remind yourself that social media shows only fragments of someone else's life, and when you invest your energy into your unique potential rather than measuring yourself against curated perfection. Social media amplifies pressure, but it can also teach awareness. When used consciously, it can inspire rather than diminish. When we understand the curated nature of content, when we measure ourselves by internal standards instead of external displays, we reclaim control over our confidence. We protect our self-worth, nurture our mental health, and allow our potential to flourish without the burden of comparison. Your journey is unique. Stop racing someone else's track. This is a truth that is often forgotten in a world obsessed with comparison. We look at others' achievements and milestones and unconsciously set their timelines as our own, thinking that if we are not at the same place at the same time, we are failing. We forget that each of us has a different path shaped by our experiences, our circumstances, and our choices. Measuring yourself against someone else's progress is not just unproductive.
It is a betrayal of your own potential.
Every individual's journey is different. Your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges are unique to you. What works for someone else may not work for you. And what seems like a delay in your path may actually be a necessary part of your growth. Yet, when we constantly compare, we impose external timelines on ourselves, creating pressure that is unnecessary and often harmful. The truth is that life is not a race, and success stop racing someone else's track is not a universal standard.
It is personal, fluid, and deeply individual.
Racing someone else's track leads to exhaustion. We push ourselves to mimic achievements, replicate strategies, or accelerate our progress simply because we see someone else moving faster. We ignore our own pace, our own needs, and our own well-being in the process. Confidence dwindles as one feels perpetually behind, even when we are making meaningful progress in our own lives. By trying to match others, we lose sight of the importance of our own rhythm, which is essential for sustainable growth and fulfillment. The pressure to keep up can distort our priorities. When we focus on what others are doing, we begin to chase goals that are not ours. We invest energy in competing for approval rather than cultivating mastery. We sacrifice authenticity for imitation, trading our unique voice for conformity. This misalignment creates dissatisfaction because our achievements, though impressive on the surface, do not resonate with our true selves. Our potential remains untapped because we are pursuing the wrong track entirely. Understanding that your journey is unique allows you to reclaim focus. You begin to define success for yourself rather than letting society, peers, or social media dictate. You learn to set goals that align with your values, your talents, and your vision for life. By accepting that your timeline is your own, you can cultivate patience, persistence, and resilience, qualities that are far more important than speed or external recognition. The danger of racing someone else's track is also emotional. Constant comparison breeds frustration, jealousy, and self-doubt.
You may celebrate the successes of others,
but those celebrations often remind you what you believe you lack. Each milestone reached by someone else can feel like a personal failure, even though it is not. Emotional energy that could be invested in growth, learning, and creativity is wasted on envy and worry, which hinders progress on your own path. Learning to honor your pace requires self-awareness. You need to recognize the moments when comparison creeps in and actively redirect your focus to your own journey. This is not about ignoring inspiration from others. It is about filtering it through the lens of your unique life. When someone else succeeds, let it be motivation rather than measurement. Use it to learn, to dream, to innovate, but never to judge your worth. Racing another person's track can also lead to burnout. We stretch ourselves too thin trying to match external standards, working harder than necessary, and overcommitting to tasks that do not align with our purpose. The longer we remain in this cycle, the more disconnected we become from our passions and strength. When we focus on our own path, we conserve energy, prioritize meaning over comparison, and build sustainable progress that honors both our potential and our health. Your journey is also defined by timing, and timing cannot be compared.
Life unfolds differently for everyone.
Opportunities arise at different moments. Challenges come in their own sequence. What seems like a delay may actually be preparation. Growth often happens in unseen ways long before visible results appear. Accepting your timing allows you to appreciate the process rather than constantly judging it against someone else's outcomes. When you stop racing someone else's track, you regain clarity. You focus on your goals. Reclaiming your confidence and self-worth, measure your progress against your own standards and celebrate your achievements authentically. Confidence grows because you are no longer reliant on external validation. Your sense of worth is anchored in your efforts, your resilience, and your growth, not in comparison to others. Your potential begins to flourish when you respect your path. You invest time in learning, in experimenting, in building skills that align with your passions. You embrace failures as lessons rather than setbacks. You make decisions based on what feels right for you, not what looks impressive to someone else. By honoring your pace, you reclaim control over your life and open space for true fulfillment. Racing someone else's track is a distraction from the life you are meant to live. It keeps you focused outward instead of inward. It keeps you chasing validation instead of purpose. By letting go of this race, you embrace the power of your own journey. A journey that is uniquely yours, rich with potential, and filled with the possibility of growth, joy, and achievement in your own time. On your own terms, embrace your strength instead of envying others, because your uniqueness is the key to unlocking your true potential. Every person has a combination of talents, experiences, and perspectives that no one else possesses. Yet, when we focus on what someone else has, we ignore the gifts we already hold and feel styled like motivation. But in reality, it diverts our energy from growth to comparison. When we cultivate awareness of our own strength, we redirect energy toward development and self-expression, building confidence and inner power. Many of us underestimate our abilities because we are constantly looking outward for validation. We see others succeed and immediately assume they are inherently better, forgetting that everyone's journey is different. This external focus creates a sense of inadequacy, even when our own accomplishments are significant. Envy blinds us to our progress and prevents us from appreciating the skills and qualities that make us unique. By shifting attention inward, we begin to see value where we previously saw only gaps. Focusing on your strengths allows for mastery and growth. Skills improve through deliberate practice, and confidence grows through consistent application. When energy is spent learning, experimenting, and refining your abilities, results emerge naturally, and dress, on the other hand, keeps you reactive constantly. Chavi indeed what others have, instead of investing in what you can create. The path to self-fulfillment is built on the foundation of your abilities, and honoring those abilities is essential to achieving success that is authentic and sustainable. In view, like every morning dressed in fear, resentment, frustration, and even self-sabotage. You may start devaluing your accomplishments or diminishing your worth to justify your feelings of inadequacy. This internal conflict not only affects confidence but also clouds judgment, making it harder to set goals and pursue meaningful opportunities. By consciously focusing on your strengths, you replace destructive comparison with constructive action, creating a positive feedback loop of growth and self-respect. When you embrace your strengths, you also develop resilience. Life presents challenges that will test your abilities, patience, and determination. Resilience is strengthened when you trust in what you can do, rather than feeling inferior to what others have achieved. Confidence in your capabilities allows you to face setbacks without being shaken, because you know your potential and your resourcefulness. Envy, by contrast, makes obstacles appear larger because your focus is on unlocking your true potential, what others have, rather than what you can accomplish. Self-awareness is central to this process. Identifying and acknowledging your strengths requires honest reflection. It is easy to overvalue external markers of success and undervalue intrinsic qualities like creativity, empathy, perseverance, and problem-solving. By taking the time to inventory your talents and abilities. When you do this honestly, you cultivate a deep sense of pride and clarity about your path. This awareness allows you to make choices aligned with your potential, rather than choices influenced by fear, insecurity, or social comparison. Focusing on your strengths also enhances motivation. Motivation derived from envy is temporary and unstable because it depends on external factors, someone else's achievements, attention, or approval. But motivation rooted in your own abilities is sustainable.
It flows from purpose, from the desire to grow, and from the satisfaction of real progress.
Every step forward reinforces confidence, builds competence, and strengthens commitment to your goals.
Celebrating your strengths does not mean ignoring your weaknesses.
Instead, it shifts your perspective from limitation to possibility. Weaknesses can be improved, learned from, or balanced through collaboration.
But your strengths are what define your unique contribution to the world. When you center your attention on what you do well, you create a powerful foundation for growth and innovation.
This positive focus generates momentum, allowing you to achieve far more than envy-driven effort ever could.
Comparison often distorts perception, making others appear more successful than they truly are.
We rarely see the struggles, the failures, and the persistence behind visible achievements. When your energy is directed towards self-improvement rather than envy, you begin to understand a liberating truth. Success is not a zero-sum game. Your strengths are uniquely yours.
Nurturing them does not diminish anyone else's accomplishments.
Recognizing this truth creates freedom and confidence. Focusing on your strengths builds authenticity. When you invest deeply in your abilities, you develop a style, an approach, and a presence that is unmistakably your own. Authenticity attracts the right opportunities, relationships, and experiences, those aligned with your values and purpose. Envy, by contrast, leads to imitation, superficial validation, and misplaced effort. Authentic growth comes from honoring your own journey, trusting your own skills, and showing up fully as yourself. Ultimately, embracing your strengths instead of envying others creates a mindset of true empowerment. Confidence grows because it is rooted in truth, not comparison. Motivation becomes internal and consistent. Growth becomes intentional rather than reactive. When you shift your focus from what others have to what you can build, you unlock the energy, creativity, and courage required to step into your full potential.
Your strengths are your why, your compass, your guide, and your source of lasting confidence.
Honor them, and you step onto the path of purpose, fulfillment, and self-respect.